Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the University of Houston downtown. I'm Jay Zambrano, the Vice President of Advancement and University Relations, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to today's installment of the President's Lecture Series, A Taste of Heritage, Houston's iconic culinary pioneer. And of course, we're honoring today Ninfa's the original and their story, and of course, all the great people that work with them, that are affiliated with them. This series reflects one of UHD's greatest strengths, our ability to bring people together to learn, to listen, and to celebrate the stories that define our community. Through these conversations, we highlight leaders and innovators who not only shape their industries, but also inspire our students to see the power of their own journeys. Today's program celebrates Houston's vibrant culinary landscape and honors one of its most beloved legacies, the original Ninfas. We're thrilled to hear from Chef Patti Delgado, who carries forward the remarkable vision of Mama Ninfa Laurenzo, and from storyteller and cultural advocate Rodrigo Bravo Jr., whose work gives voice to Houston's creative spirit. Together, they remind us of that food and culture and community are deeply intertwined, and that heritage, when celebrated, becomes a bridge between generations. It is now my honor to introduce the president of the University of Houston downtown, Dr. Lauren J. Blanchard.
Thank you so much. You know, Dr. Alonzo and I, when we were on the elevator, with a couple of folks says, well, where is that lecture where that great food is? I said, just follow your nose. Doesn't it smell great in here? My goodness. Can we have this happen every day? Welcome to the fourth installment for this academic year of the President's Lecture Series. And this one really is important to us. You know, I tell folks all the time that food is just at the core of so much that means many things to many people in the city. And that one thing that I just mentioned to our guests from Ninfa's is that, yes, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is and I'm not... and I am biased in making the statement that Ninfa's is the best restaurant that I find here in Houston. I love going to Ninfa's. But that in addition to that, it's a community place, right? You know, it's a place where people feel that they're not only comfortable and welcomed, but they feel like they're in a familiar place. And so a lot of that is what we're going to touch on today in terms of not only a place that's a great restaurant, but also a great community home. As many of you know, Houston is known for its food scene, which includes a dynamic, internationally diverse landscape of cuisine ranging from Texas barbecue to Tex-Mex, with authentic global cuisines reflective of our dynamic immigration population. And as we heard during a previous panel discussion recently on Hurricane Katrina and its impact on Houston, we learned that our food options are now heavily influenced as well by Cajun and Creole dishes, where you also see crawfish, gumbo, etouffee, and the like. So from fine dining to food trucks, Houston's culinary strengths are arguably, in my mind, unmatched. Among our city's most authentic family-owned restaurants is the original Ninfa's on Navigation. Now more than 50 years old, this restaurant is such a staple in our city that in 2023, some of you might remember, Mayor Sylvester Turner declared November 12th the original Ninfa's Day. Remember that, November 12th. We're going to converge on that restaurant on November 12th. Today's panelists include Patti Delgado, that you heard about earlier, executive chef of this iconic restaurant, and Rodrigo Bravo Jr., a Houston-based advocate for Latino culture. Together, they bring us the story of Houston's rich Tex-Mex tradition, providing a view from inside the original Ninfa's restaurant and from the larger cultural scene. Mr. Delgado, or Ms. Delgado, excuse me, and Mr. Bravo, welcome to the University of Houston downtown. Thank you for joining us, all of you that's here today, as we lift powerful examples of entrepreneurship, resilience, and community. Here at the University of Houston downtown, we foster dynamic conversations that inspire our students and our employees alike to take action, invest in our city's economy and culture, and to pursue their dreams, much like Mama Ninfa did more than 50 years ago. Again, welcome to A Taste of Heritage. I'm now going to turn it back over to Vice President Jay Zambrano, who will introduce our facilitator and our two guests for today. All yours.
I'm going to ask our panelists to kind of come up and take their seats, and then I'll pass the mic over to our amazing dean here. But let me introduce our moderator today, who, of course, is no stranger already. He's been with us, how many months already? 5 days he's been with us. And we felt like we've known him for 10 years. So, in a very good way. We love him very much. So, Dr. Jose Ricardo Osorio serves as the Dean of the College of Public Service at the University of Houston downtown. He holds a bachelor's degree in modern languages from La Universidad del Atlántico in Barranquilla, Colombia, a master's degree in Spanish, and a doctorate in higher education from the University of Arkansas, La Universidad de Arkansas, right? With more than 2 decades of teaching experience and 10 years in academic administration, Dr. Ricardo Osorio has held leadership roles, including interim dean of the College of Education and Human Services at Shippensburg Universidad of Pennsylvania, associate dean and department chair. A recognized leader in language education and academic assessment, Dr. Ricardo Osorio has been honored as Educator of the Year by the Pennsylvania Modern Language Association and is a distinguished alumnus by Universidad de Atlántico. Ladies and gentlemen, Dean Ricardo Osorio.
Hello, everyone. I'll skip the part where I have to say my name because you already said it, so that will save us some time to go back to our panelists. Let me start with Patti Delgado. She told me to call her Patti Delgado. We're honored to welcome Patti Delgado, Executive Chef of Original Ninfas. Delgado's love for cooking began at a very young age. Her grandmother was the pillar of her family, and food was always at the center of every gathering. On anniversaries, birthdays, or even a Saturday afternoon spent with family, Patti cooked alongside her grandmother. The joy she brought to those moments and the praise she received from loved ones sparked her confidence and revealed her true calling in the culinary world. A graduate of the Culinary Institute Le Notre, Delgado gained mentors who guided her journey, including renowned chef Ronnie Killen of Killing's Barbecue. Under his mentorship, she cooked alongside him and his team at the James Beard House in New York in 2011 and 2012. Back in Houston, she worked with Mark Holley at his acclaimed Holley Seafood Restaurant and Oyster Bar, ultimately becoming his right-hand person. Later in 2018, at Vibrant, I like that name, she expanded her craft by mastering a refined, sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, and non-GMO menu, an experience that deepened her understanding of healthy, intentional cooking. Today, as executive chef at Ninfa's, she continues to honor the legacy of Mama Ninfa Laurenzo, whose humble beginnings in the tortilla factory sparked a culinary revolution that made Houston synonymous with the fajita and Tex-Mex cuisine worldwide. Patti carries that spirit forward with heart, skill, and innovation. Thank you for being here. But as you can see, she's not alone. Joining her today is Rodrigo Bravo Jr., founder and owner of RSA Professional Agent Services, contributor to the James Beard Foundation, Texas Monthly, etc. Executive producer of Nuestra Palabra, Latinos Have Their Say. Rodrigo is a dynamic storyteller, an advocate for Latino culture, literacy, and community engagement. His work amplifies Houston's diverse voices, from taquerias and poetry to civic life and social justice. He has also ventured into writing and become a freelance content provider, producing thoughtful reviews and features on food and culture. You can catch him on several podcasts and platforms where he explores Houston's culinary and cultural landscape. As mentioned earlier, Rodrigo is also a proud member of the UHD Gator family. He attended classes right here at UHD before ultimately completing his degree at the University of Houston. We need to talk about that. I have an application form here. So again, welcome back, Rodrigo and Patti. We're going to have a discussion in 5 broad themes, and I'm going to guide them through the discussion. So let's start with legacy and cultural roots, but I'm going to sit down a la Barbara Walters special. Okay. Let's feel like en casa. Estamos en casa.
Ya está, ya está.
Bienvenidos. Gracias por estar acá.
Gracias.
Let's talk about legacy and cultural roots. A question for you, Chef Delgado. Mama Ninfa's Laurenzo story embodies resilience, entrepreneurship, and family. How do you carry her spirit into today's kitchen and dining experience?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. I think that Mama Ninfa left us so much in her legacy, in her history, being a mother, being an entrepreneur, being innovative at a time that maybe not that many women had businesses. And so that strength, that feminine, divine strength is something that I definitely try to always pull into and look at our team and have still that motherly instinct and still, it's a family affair with all of us. I mean, we've been together for so many years now. And so you see them and it's like having your extended family at work every day. So I think that carrying that through work, ideas, is something that's very, very, very strong. Absolutely.
Gracias. Thank you. Now, Rodrigo, you've made a career championing Latino voices through storytelling and advocacy. How do you see food and literature intersecting as cultural expressions of identity and belonging?
I think it's fair to say that when it comes to language and food, they're the ones that often evolve at the quickest pace, and where we really are looking at kind of transitionary stages. Unfortunately, for a lot of folks like Chef Patti, myself, and many others here in this room, sometimes our culture has not been at the forefront. It's exciting to see it now front stage right now in this, not just in our time in literature, but also in the culinary scene. When you have pioneers like Chef Hugo Ortega and Mama Ninfa that were out there when nobody else like us was out there, it was hard. They were pioneers. They were literally pioneers in venturing out there and doing things that were not being done. And it allowed folks like Chef Patti to be at the forefront now and take these cultural artifacts, if you will, from the past and bring them into the present. I would say that's the same thing that we do with Nuestra Palabra. Tony Diaz started Nuestra Palabra 26 years ago. I'm very proud of the work that we've done. We're a nonprofit. We push excellency and Latinidad. Back then, there was no space. There was no space for Latino writers, Latino poets, and so forth. And so he cultivated that, and he went ahead and grew that. And now there's other folks like myself that have taken that avenue, that little caminito that he started. And now it's not just a little path in the weeds. Now it's an avenue. And I intend to drive right through it and really expose those stories and share the contributions that our gente are doing. Because right now, one of the most beautiful things that I'm seeing right now is that our cultura used to be at the back of the house, and now it's at the front of the house. And now our music used to be playing in the back all the time. You would hear the rancheritas and the corridos in the back, right? And then you would come up in the front and you hear classical music. I love classical music too. But now when I go to restaurants, whether it's a taqueria in San Antonio, or it's a Michelin star restaurant like Chef Emmanuel Chavez at Tatemo, and I listen to the Ramones, Daft Punk, Vicente Fernandez, it just shows how that intersection between language, music too, but also food is intersecting and creating beautiful things out here in Houston and beyond.
Thank you. This question is for both of you. Houston is one of the most culturally diverse cities in the nation. How does that identity show up in the dishes we cook and the stories we tell and the communities we build?
Cajun crawfish.
Okay.
I didn't even know what crawfish was when I first came to Houston. I'm from San Antonio. And so I came over here, and as you mentioned, I was at U of H Central, and I got invited by a fraternity, and one of the brothers was like, "Oh, we're gonna do crawfish." I said, "Okay, what's that?" You know, like I don't know what it was. Oh my God, I loved it. I loved crawfish, and then but I only saw that type of crawfish, and then the diversity I saw. Eventually it came to Cajun crawfish, which I love even more, and that's probably the best example. I'll just be honest of that diversity that Houston embodies, where cultures meet, they collide, and they're not in competition. They're actually in collaboration. And collaboration is something that I'm always talking about. Chef Patti exemplifies that. She's always talking about, hey, let's bring in another chef. Let's do this. Hey, what about that? And bringing in folks. And we just had an event there at Ninfa's, a spectacular event that the Ninfa's team really did a tremendous job holding. But it was because of that collaboration. Why? Because Arnie Segovia, he's a New York Times bestselling writer now. He was dining, and they saw him and like, hey, let's do something. And I think that's very Houston. Houston's for hustlers. Nah, I'm being real. Houston's for hustlers, and hustlers make opportunities. And so, the team, they saw him there, and they said, hey, let's talk. And I think that's very Houston.
Yes,
Thank you.
I agree with what he said. All of it. But Rodrigo, con nuestra palabra and his platforms, bring la comunidad para que todos estemos juntos y todos podemos brillar. We can all shine together. And because of nuestra palabra, your platforms, Rodrigo, gracias, because you're bringing us together. That's your jam. Community.
That's very kind of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Gracias. Yes.
And if I may, let's do a follow-up question here. How does honoring legacy keep our communities grounded while still allowing us to evolve creatively? Grounded but evolving creatively. How can we do that?
Well, I think for me and for the team at Ninfa's, we definitely pride ourselves, being part of the community, giving back to the community. And that's something that Mama Ninfa also taught us. She was very big advocate, for children, for women. And so I think that's something that for us, it just it grounds us, it brings us back, we're there for the community. And then evolving for us is finding new avenues, to give back as well to the community. So
thank you.
Thank you.
I think oftentimes when we look back to the past, we find answers for the future. Right now, there's an incredible resurgence of nixtamalized corn tortillas and masa. And, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, nobody was doing that. It was kind of like, it's too much work. And now you see it as a craft. And you see so many folks out there, doing it. And it's beautiful because, again, we went back to our past, to our ancestral ways, to the indigenous ways of how maíz was made. And now you see it just full circle, where a place like HEB's Mi Tienda, they actually have vats of nixtamalized corn doing a process right now. If you've never been to Mi Tienda, I don't work for HEB, okay? But I want to. I keep DMing them, but go to Mi Tienda and you can see it. And this is, and you see it in the vats. It's big steel drums, and you see the whole process. But this is just a modern interpretation of what our indigenous ancestors were doing. And it's beautiful to see that. that it's, they sell the masa now made, the corn tortillas and whatnot. And one thing that I tell people here in Houston is you should not have a bad tortilla in Houston, because you can find good tortillas. You don't have to make them there, But going back to your question, that's how you do stay grounded, by understanding what the past is, and that many times those answers for whatever problem you may have lie there. And of course, if you don't know your past, you're doomed to repeat it. That's a more negative thing, but that's you got to know that and learn from it and move forward.
So let's move from legacy and cultural roots to crafts, creativity, and storytelling. Patricia, Patti, I know you can I share that with them? I was doing some social engineering in the back, and we were exchanging stories, and I said, how do you want me to call you? And she said, well, Patricia. She said, no, my mom would call me Patricia when she was mad at me.
When I was in trouble.
Yes. So when she was in trouble. So I'm going to call it Patti.
And that's the reason why my eyes got big, because I said, oh, what did I do?
Exactly.
¿Qué hice?
Now that I have your attention, I'm kidding. Patti,
Diga.
what inspires your creativity in the kitchen? Ingredients, memories, or the people you cook for?
I think it's all of the above. I think that, there are definitely memories with my grandmother cooking, grilling with my uncles, on the weekends. One of the dishes that we have on the menu, las tablitas or the costillas, is something that I did, I was always in charge of, helping my uncle bring the costillas out and then the costillas in. And so that's one of the things that, definitely I can draw from, memories with my family. I think that there are times when we're cooking family meal in the kitchen and someone will bust out with a guisado that is, it needs to be on the menu, like that kind of, level. And you get inspiration from the cooks that are cooking there with you. I think that also seeing what my colleagues are doing, gathering inspiration from them as well. So I think inspiration is everywhere. It's just a matter of you being open to tap into it, I guess.
Thank you. Rodrigo, soon to be Gator. I'm still have the application. We have people from admissions here.
Do you have a pen?
Do I have a pen?
So you can
No, it's all online now, isn't it?
Exactly.
Back when I started, it was all pen and paper.
In fact, your application is already pre-filled.
It's in the archives.
Exactly. As a writer, Rodrigo, and content creator, what makes a food story powerful? How can storytelling elevate our appreciation of culinary heritage?
So one of my favorite tacos is actually in San Antonio. It's Chef Leo Davila. It's the barbacoa and big red taco. And what he did was, it took him 31 tries to get the nixtamalized masa content right. He replaced some of the water content with big red, the soda. Yes, I was the same way. I was like, okay. And I'm gonna be very honest with you. I thought it was a gimmick. I really thought it was just something for show, And Big Red and Barbacoa is a very big thing in San Antonio. We literally just had a Big Red and Barbacoa festival this past weekend, which is insane because after like 10 minutes, you're kind of like, okay, what else is there, right? But he did this. It took him 31 tries. He perfected it. It's a subtle sweetness to it. It's not cloyingly sweet like the soda, but it's subtle. And the tortilla has a pink little rosado to it. And it's delicious on its own. And then he renders the barbacoa 3 times. Comes out very lean, very, very, very savory. He puts a pecan pesto with a pumpkin seed on it as well. The pecans are sprinkled right there. Then finally, I know I'm making y'all hungry. I apologize.
I'm hungry.
There's a point. And then he has a pickled watermelon rind on top. And when you think of that taco, you're thinking to yourself like, and very, very aptly so, you'll say that's kind of a bougie taco. It sounds like a bougie taco, right? And when we ranked it, my best friend Jose Relat, he's the taco editor for Texas Monthly. I helped last year with him. We drove over 12,000 miles across the state of Texas looking for the best tacos, and Ninfa's was on the list as well. But his taco was on the list as well, and we got a lot of pushback because everybody said, "Oh, it's an Asian fusion taco," right? And so the Big Ribbon Barbacoa represents San Antonio. It's an homage to San Antonio culture. The pecans represent the pecans that his family, on the Mexican side of his family, would pick in the backyard on Sundays and Saturdays when they would have an asada. And the pickled watermelon rind was his Chinese grandmother's favorite snack. And so when you combine all those ingredients, as President and I were talking, there's intentionality there. And there's a story there. And he's just not giving you a taco. He's giving you a piece of his history, of his legacy, of his heritage. And I find that exceptionally beautiful because we tell our stories through our art, whether that's poetry, whether that's spoken word, whether that's cooking, whether that's painting. And the culinary arts is an art. And that's how we can tell our stories. That's how we stay grounded, and that's how we can move forward with intentionality and really showing who we are through our food, through our pathways, whatever our expression is. And I'm very privileged to be able to share stories like that with everybody so that they understand that it's just not a taco. It's more than that. It's culture. It's culture. It's cultura.
For both of you again, do you see the culinary arts and the storytelling as two sides of the same coin, preserving culture and pushing it forward?
Absolutely. I think my friend here is a great storyteller, and he, helps us tell our stories. Maybe I may not be the best storyteller, but I can cook, and then I just feed him, and then he tells a great story about it. So I think, yes, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand, right? So.
Yeah. I will take that, but I definitely can't cook. Well, I can functionally cook, so I won't die. But I wouldn't really just eat my food all the time. But yes, absolutely. I think everybody it can be a vessel. They can be a conduit, and they can use their platform in one way or the other. You don't have to be a cook to tell the story of the food. And so I'm privileged enough and honored really to share and collaborate and build relationships with folks who have those stories. Chef Patti doesn't need to be writing things down. That's not her. No, and I say that in a humbly way because her talent is making amazing food and building teams and growing out there. So why should she bother like updating a website or putting down like, oh, I'm gonna write a story and this and that? No, there's people out there that can help. Hopefully I'm one of those people. The team at Ninfa is an amazing people. They've been supporting her. They gave her this opportunity and they stand behind her 100%. And I've seen that firsthand. I'm not just saying Ninfa's because I want to get a free lunch over there. They really, I've seen them support. And Chef Patti comes up with an idea and she says, hey, I want to do this for XYZ. And they're like, let's do it. And so you need that support and you need that foundation of people around you to, really take the space that you don't need to be taking. Sometimes we do, I don't like to say stay in your lane, but when we're on our lane, that's when we do the best work.
Let me go deeper into something you said that actually caught my attention. That you say that you write about cooking, culinary arts, but you don't cook. Writers, when they write, they create a persona, a point of view that make the readers believe that what they are doing, they actually do, that what they are writing about, they do. When you read, or some people that know you read what you write, they think that you know how to prepare all those dishes. You convince them that you are a good cook?
I definitely don't go around telling people that I can cook.
Okay.
And I make it very clear. I will say that I've been blessed to be able to eat at a lot of places.
Okay.
And the kind of the analogy that I use is, would you trust somebody, or not trust, but would you value the opinion of somebody that's gone to the same taqueria 1,000 times? Or would you value the opinion of somebody that's gone to 1,000 different taquerias?
Interesting.
And so for me, we literally went to like 1,000 taquerias last year looking for, not 1,000, but it was 520 something. But we've gone to 1,000 before because we drove many more miles before that. So Jose and I, when we travel, I really, it's not that our opinion necessarily matters or counts. I'll just say like, hey, we've been, to places and I know what's good and what's bad. However, I will tell you, for example, I don't know how to cook. I wouldn't know how to fix a plate. Perfect example is there's a barbecue, a joint, it's a J Bar M barbecue. They're great community advocates. And so there's plenty of great barbecue all across the city of Houston, but I love them. I'm always advocating them. We were in the kitchen, we were trying to fix up some type of plate, etc. They made this plate. They used their smoked turkey. The turkey is amazing there. I don't even eat turkey like that. And I was like, man, this is good. We made a breakfast taco, but the turkey taste got lost in it. And I could taste it, and I said, I don't taste the turkey. And then I would grab the turkey by itself, and I could taste that the turkey was great. And so here we are, Hafi, the general manager, myself, and another, and then one of the line cooks says, hey, what about if we take the yolk out of the egg and just do it egg whites? And one of the gentlemen says, like, why would we do that? He goes, oh, the yolk is probably the richest part of the egg. Maybe that'll help bring out the turkey taste. And Hafi goes, do it. And so they did it. Oh my God, it was amazing. And I literally told the gentleman, I said, you're a genius, man. I would have never figured that out. I know what tastes good and what tastes bad, but I don't know how to fix it. You do. And so I make that very clear to folks, and I think it's important to elevate folks like Hector. Hector's one of the line cooks there. And very briefly, I stayed there for quite a while, and then he came out, and then he told me later on, he goes, nobody's ever called me a genius before. And that was really cool because, again, two Latino men just being honest with each other. Me praising him and then him acknowledging that praise and just saying like, hey, man, I appreciate you, bro. I think we need to do that more, just not men, but especially men, but definitely, everybody, and for him to be able to do that. Now they're thinking of doing special dinners where he's going to lead it.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And I'm really excited for that. And I'm really proud of, again, the team there at J Bar M, just like the team at Ninfa, is allowing people to express themselves and give an opportunity when it's deserved.
Great. Thank you. Yes. Before we move to our third segment, I would like to do a follow-up question that probably will inspire people here in the audience. How can creative professionals, let's say chef, writers, artists, collaborate to promote cultural pride and visibility in Houston?
How we can collaborate? I think the Arnitex book tour is a great example of how we were able to bring together all of our worlds. You had an author, you had Nuestra Palabra, Ninfas. I think that was a great coming together. I think it brought the community. I think that was something that where all of us were able to, shine and collaborate. We sat there, talked, and were able to just bounce ideas back and forth and build friendship. So I think that that's a great example of all of us coming together and for a great purpose. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Collaboration over competition. I mean, there's enough pie out there for everybody. We've been taught in our society that there, individual ruggedness, right? That, hey, go out there and do it on your own, and you did it on your own, and you can do it. Yeah, you can, but 100% of the time, you don't ever do it on your own. There's people that help you. There's people that facilitate things. They make connections, and folks. And so for me, I'm constantly trying to connect folks together. I feel like that's my gift, if you will. And I have a friend today, Roberto. He came over here, and first thing I thought of, like, oh my God, he should work with Chef Patti. I think they would be dope to do a collaboration, this and that, da da da. And Chef Patti already said yes, because she always says yes. She's always like, yeah, dope, But I think that's the whole spirit, to collaborate and to come together and to realize that, hey, we can all do this together, and there's enough for everybody. And I would really challenge everybody, that you have a platform, you have privilege, you have some assets. You probably just don't know it, and you just don't use it. But do it, figure out a way where if you find somebody, hey, you know what, this person should be with this person, And if you do that, you never know what happens. And I feel, I was sharing a story earlier that, things don't happen just to happen. I don't really believe in luck. I think you create your opportunities. And when you go out there and you're very, again, intentional, good things happen.
Okay, in this story we're telling today, Houston is a main character. So it's part of the story. Houston has a personality. and the context is the culinary landscape. So let's contextualize this segment there. How has Houston shaped our culinary journey? What makes this the food here so powerful, so tasteful?
Well, first of all, I think that there's a vast diversity. So I think a lot of Houstonians, if they're not from Houston, they got here really fast, because I think that there's, like my friend said, there's enough pie for everyone. So I think that starting a small business, whether it's a food truck, whether it's a brick and mortar, you have the opportunity to tell your story or talk about your culture through food. I think Houston is like, yes, bring it. We want it. We love that. We want more of it. And so I think that the diversity is the best part, that we're able to all come together. Maybe there's fusions. Maybe there's just that particular, type of cuisine that you want to showcase. And so I think that for me, it's a very bountiful community of love for food. So.
Yeah, on this question, I really got to give props to Houston, the citizens, y'all out there, because of all the palates in the state of Texas, y'all are the people that are most likely to try anything. No, I mean, I know y'all laugh, but seriously, like, y'all are willing to say, like, oh, I had a bad meal here, where other folks are scared to have that bad meal. I'm from San Antonio. We are terrible. We were terrible. We're coming out of our shell, but we were terrible at trying new things. And there was, and more importantly, there wasn't a community that would support new things. No, yo quiero Tex-Mex. Yo quiero mis enchiladas. No, I'm gonna go to I don't want to disparage any chain restaurant, so I'll just say, oh, we want to go to, something cake factory, I'm, it's like, come on, man, but that's very much San Antonio and other communities out there, Houston has always had a very diverse palate, not just diversity in the people themselves, but a willingness to try things. And because there's a willingness to try things, that means that there's entrepreneurs, there's chefs, there's culinary artists that are able to venture out there and do different things. I'm very proud of San Antonio because they're starting to come up, but Houston is just it gets ranked like the most diverse city every other year or something, right? Like, I think we lose the title one year, we're like, okay, just wait a couple months and then we get the title back. But it really drives home how, like, folks here in Houston are willing to go to a different spot. We have our favorites, but there's always something else out there. And even myself, I lived here in Houston for 22 years. I moved back to San Antonio, but now I pretty much live between San Antonio and Houston. I'm here all the time. I find new places all the time. And places that I almost like, how could this place not even, how did I forget this? How did I run into this place? I'm sorry. And so I think it's just beautiful, both because of the breadth of Houston, how large it is, but also the acceptance of trying new things. So thank you, Houston. Thank you, all y'all.
Rodrigo, you have written about everything from taquerias to education. So you have a lot of data as to what people eat say about them, about their stories, their lives.
I think when it comes to what folks are willing to eat, I think especially nowadays, our values are front and center. And we want to support people that support our values. I think that's more important now than ever. When we are talking about our wallet is our voice, and where we go eat matters. And so if we can choose to spend at one place, but if we know that another place shares our values, or is a small mom and pop shop down the street, or has legacy, has really poured into the community, I think that matters. I think that really matters to make sure that our voice is not only just what we say, but also in what we do. And so I think it's very critical for folks to understand that they have power, that there is opportunity to make changes in the scene, in the food scene. Of course, the first thing that has to happen is the food has to be good, right? I mean, it really does have to be good. You're not going to go to a place that's not good. I mean, that's just, But for me, I've always found that, you can find good food anywhere, but when you find good people making good food, it makes the food better. And I think it's very critical that we all understand it, especially right now when communities are under attack and people are scared to work. People are scared to show up at their jobs, and people are scared to go to their neighborhood taquerias. Some people have privilege to go to those taquerias. Other people don't. And so I really emphasize that if you do have that privilege, support those taquerias, support those restaurants, and support those places that share your values. It's the most important thing and the most critical thing you could do right now in the restaurant industry.
Bueno, esta pregunta es para los dos. I'm not going to say this in Spanish, just to create some familia here, but this is a question for the two of you. Food memories. What is your favorite food memory from Houston?
Oh, from Houston. I think my favorite food memories have been the ones where we're raising awareness or money for a cause. I think that's where Houstonians come together and want to make an impact. And so I think my favorite food memories are being in community, being with my friends, cooking with my friends for a great cause. And nothing feels better than that. So that one, it's in my heart for sure. Yes.
I agree with that. I think on a more personal level, when I came to Houston, I was not aware of the diversity that existed in the food scene. And so I remember very fondly going to Timmy Chan's for the wings and rice, going to Frenchie's right down the street, going to Thelma's Barbecue. Who remembers Thelma's Barbecue? Oh, those are the real ones right there. Those are the OGs right there. Going to places like that really helped me develop a appreciation for what Houston stood for. And of course, Ninfa's. I remember taking friends to Ninfa's, and they would be from San Antonio, and this was the ultimate compliment to oh man, this tastes like San Antonio. There's a saying in Spanish, but no lo voy a decir ahorita, pero I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Huh? No manches. I can say no manches?
Sí, yeah.
No manches way. I was like, come on, bro. We're in Houston. Like Ninfa's. Well, anyways, we'll get to that in a little bit. But those are my favorite kind of food memories from back then, because it really helped establish the diversity, but also the willingness to try different things. Because I came from San Antonio, and I was so stuck in my ways back then, and I still was growing up, but I slowly became Houston, And so, yeah.
Okay, if you want to know what no manches means, buy my tell-all book coming out next week.
That's right. Monetize that knowledge.
Pre-orders are going like this.
Ya está.
Okay. So now let's go to our fourth segment of this storytelling session. It has to do with mentorship, leadership, and legacy building. Patti, what advice would you give to students? How many students we have here? Students, okay, yeah, that want to start their own business, that they want to go into the business world, things that you have learned that you should pass on to them.
I think that believing in yourself first and not giving up. There are going to be some doors that may close, and that's going to be okay, because there will be a window or another door that might be just slightly cracked open, and you'll be able to go through that. And, maybe write down. I know you said I shouldn't write, but I have notebooks.
You can do whatever you want.
I have notebooks full of ideas, and that's the one thing that I think also, coming back to something, you have an idea, you write it down, and yes, you may not have accomplished it that month, that year, but you come back and you say, oh my gosh, I had this one idea, let me go back to it. And so I think that believing in yourself, dreaming, because I think that's the best part, is like when you envision it, you dream about it, you think about it, and then you bring it to fruition. I think that's the best. So don't give up. Just échenle muchas ganas don't stop. Yes, that's my advice.
Thank you.
And work hard.
And Rodrigo, what do you think universities like UHD can do to inspire young Latinos or any student to tell their stories, to take up space in the creative world?
Yeah, do that. Be very intentional with creating spaces. UHD, institutions like UHD, they have the ability to create spaces and create areas where students can be free to write, to express themselves, and et cetera. I know right now we're in a period where maybe certain ideas aren't welcomed. You know, people are looking at who stands up for our people. People are looking for who stands up for their values. And I challenge all institutions to do that, to make sure like, hey, you're welcome. Your voice, your identity, who you are, your cultura, it's welcomed here, and we want you to celebrate it. I think it's important that institutions take the lead, because many times as individuals, we feel we don't have that much power, that we don't have that much ability to affect change. We really do. You really do. Whatever your platform is, you absolutely do. But I understand the sentiment, because we all have it. You know, when I first started off as a writer, I didn't, Chef Patti very eloquently said, you know, you got to believe in yourself. I certainly didn't. I would do things, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing it, you know, this and that. But it really took other people to help, you know, me realize like, okay, I got something. I'm doing something with it. And so those were other people. But then when institutions started believing in me and saying like, hey, we want to pay you, you know, I was like, oh, snap. Okay, let's go, you know, like that's great, you know, because now I'm not just doing something because it makes me happy. I'm doing something because it brings me joy, and it's part of something that I'm being reimbursed for, you know. So I think a lot of times institutions play a very fundamental role in providing those platforms and spaces. You know, it's really important, and I hope folks understand that if they do have whatever privilege or power, that they use it appropriately.
Okay, I would like to, for the record, just to acknowledge that he came here first, so we taught him how to write here. So when he went somewhere else, he already knew how to write. So we're taking that to us that you are
Entendido.
Exactly. So now let's have a conversation on a single question for both of you. What do you think about legacy? What does that word mean to you personally? Legacy.
I think legacy is, you know, for me, my grandmother, that's a great example of legacy. The hard work she did to come to this country to make an opportunity for us, and then for us to take, and I don't want to say advantage, but it is, because we had the opportunity, we were here, and now my part of my legacy has to be to open the doors for others to come through. So my grandmother got us here, and so that had such a big impact, her hard work. And so just doing that, working hard, opening the doors, collaborating, you know, even opening the doors for my own daughters is very important. I think legacy comes with hard work and providing opportunities en comunidad para los demás.
And how would you like to be remembered?
Well, I like to be remembered as a good cook. Well, gracias. I don't, I guess as a kind person, as a hard worker, and as a good friend.
Good, wonderful. How about you?
What was the initial question again?
Like your legacy, what is legacy?
Oh, legacy. Yeah,
personally to you?
I have like a whole answer for it, but I totally forgot. So my parents, they crossed in January 1st, 1979 in El Paso on a dry riverbed, undocumented, and they made their way to San Antonio. My mom and dad, they are the quintessential immigrant story, that they came here with nothing. They created something out of it. My dad is an amazing man, but he only knows what he knows. My dad was surviving. I have the privilege of thriving. I think it's incumbent on me to make sure that I use that as best as I can. And I feel the gift that I've been given is connecting folks and being able to tell those stories. And so I feel if God blessed me with that opportunity and with that talent, then I need to make the most of it. And I intend to do so. I know that my dad doesn't understand it because he'll tell me like, nah, tienes trabajo en la computadora, eso no es nada. He's like, you do work on the computer, that's nothing. It's funny, but it's because my dad doesn't understand that. And it's really not his job to understand that. So when I talk about legacy, it's really not about like proving something or anything like that. It's just about carrying that message forward, carrying that story forward, and making sure that I do what I can do to carry on that cultura. And as far as being remembered, I'm not really interested in being remembered. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But at the end of the day, what really interests me is not being remembered, but telling the stories that need to be remembered. Because those are the stories that I want to live on. That's my job, that's my duty, that's my responsibility. And I'm very honored and humbled that I can tell stories like Chef Leo's taco, like Chef Ernie Cervantes and his bread pudding and the crumbs. You know, little stories like that. And I bring that up because I just had over there his Sunday brunch. If you ever have a chance, go out there, #1 rated barbecue in Texas, etc. But he makes this bread pudding, and he has this crumble on the bottom. And he told me, he goes, you know what the crumble reminds me of? You know why I do that? I go, what? He goes, remember when, we were broke, cuando estábamos pobres, and you would get the cheap cornflakes, and then you put azucarita, you put sugar on it, right? My mom would put banana slices too, but you'd eat everything up, right? And then you'd have the milk, and then you had the little sugar on the bottom. And it was like a last little gift. Era el piloncito. And you would soup that up, and then you'd have that little scoop, and you take it. That's legacy. That's remembering to bring the past into the future and making sure it's not forgotten.
Thank you. That's powerful. Our last segment is Houston in one word. How would you describe Houston in one word or one dish?
I'm gonna steal her thunder. It's fajitas. Sorry. Yeah, no, I think fajitas are so Houston. They really are. Mama Ninfa's, whatever story you believe, but she created the fajita trend. The fajita, the introduction of the fajita, the mainstreaming it, and really the love for the fajita. And again, I said that earlier, right? Houston is for hustlers. That was hustle. That was her like finding a way, creating something out of nothing. The skirt steak, that cut of meat, nobody was eating that back then. Okay, nobody was eating that. Everybody loves it now, right? They're like, oh, fajitas, But that was the cheap cut. Nobody wanted it back then. She created something out of nothing. That's so Houston. That's like, yo, I'm gonna go out there and grind. I'm gonna pound, and make something out of it. And so that's, one of Houston's nicknames is Hustle Town. So I think fajitas would be the word that I would use. I'm sorry, Chef.
That's okay.
Okay.
He took my word.
It was fajitas? Well, now, but you can say fajitas a la Patti. Which are
Well,
probably
we are very traditional with the fajitas. You don't mess with the fajitas.
Okay.
You don't.
Actually, educate me. What would be a no-no to a fajita? Like, no, you shouldn't do that.
Oh, to eat it, to process, to make, or
to
just
make
to
it.
eat?
Like, you never put this ingredient into a fajita.
Well, I think
fajita.
everyone has their own interpretation of fajitas. We're tried and true, so we do ours very traditionally. We season them, we clean them, pound them, season them, and grill them. So we're very traditionalist when it comes to fajitas. But you have others that have their own take on it, and that's acceptable too.
Okay.
Yeah, there's enough space in the fajita world. But what my word is going to be vibrant.
Okay.
For
Vibrant.
Houston. Yes.
Okay. Vibrante. Good. Excellent.
Vibrante, sí.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think we are honored to. Okay. We have questions. Okay. I didn't come to rehearsal, so that's why I didn't know that part. So I will have to fire someone in my crew. So we are open now to questions from the audience.
Any questions?
So another great food storyteller, Anthony Bourdain, I think, credited Hispanic, Latino chefs as being the great chefs in this country. And so not only for Mexican food or Tex-Mex, but in all cuisine. So I thought maybe you could comment on that.
Absolutely. I think that Latinos, we're hardworking. We come for opportunity. We come to create opportunities for our children, for ourselves. And when you go into any kitchen, well, I won't say any, but most kitchens, the backbone of that kitchen, of that restaurant, is going to be our people. Absolutely. So
One of the few things that the skills are transferable when you migrate over here is cooking. You'll actually meet a lot of taqueros and folks that are in the cooking industry that are actually lawyers, professionals. One of my favorite taquerias in San Antonio is Naco 210. Francisco, he's a lawyer, but his skill set and his credentials didn't transfer over. So he starts from scratch. And so what did he rely on? He relied on what he knew. Him and his wife, Lisette Martinez, they cook and they do amazing food. So many times, as you said, Latinos, we're hardworking and we're professionals, but it doesn't necessarily mean that our skill set translates over here. So we fall back on what we know. And if there's one thing that Latinos know, man, we cook. We love to cook. We like to eat. We eat family style. We la abuelita, la mamá, and then the dad's doing that salads. Perdón?
Los tíos.
Los tíos también. Yeah. And so that's why you see, I personally feel that's why you see so many that are willing to do that, because that's something that they do know how to do.
Thank you for your question.
Okay, chefs, there are a lot of restaurants in Houston, and not all of them are good, Tex-Mex or, whatever kind. Why is Ninfa's very good? What makes it good? I mean, you can have green sauce somewhere, but why is it not Ninfa's green sauce? And fajitas, everybody makes those. You can buy them, anywhere. What makes yours special?
I think that, especially in navigation, we have staff members, we have cooks, we have waiters that have been with Ninfa's for 40 plus years, okay? The tradition is embedded in them. They've helped us carry on the legacy. I think that consistency is something that is very important in any restaurant. Making sure that there's quality control. But I think that the history of Mama Ninfa is so great that all of us, we believe it, we're honored to carry it, and we're happy to come to work every day to do what we do. So I think that maybe we're a little happier when we make our green salsa. Maybe we're a little happier when we make a little bit more, proud when we're making our, grilling fajitas that day. But like you said, yeah, there's some great restaurants and there's some, that are still working on their craft. And, but I think that las ganas que tenemos para venir a trabajar todos los días is the most important thing. And the love for food. That's something we probably haven't talked much about. But clearly, I'm here, and there's chefs that are here, and we're working every day. It's because we love what we do. We're passionate about it. We're thinking about it. We're dreaming about it. We're talking about it. We're reading about it. And so, it's a very cool career, a very cool job. Absolutely. Thank you.
So I'm almost done with season 4 of The Bear. So as a chef, I'm really curious, what's something that you took a risk on with your creativity, and you just were like, wow, I just created that?
Or I can't believe I pulled that off kind of moment.
Or that.
Oh my goodness. this might be a little, well, it's not so much on the creative side, but it's more of the leadership side. You know, being in you've watched the show, so, or whoever's watched the show, there's a great feeling when you call something out and you have a line of probably 12, we'll say 10 to 12 cooks, and you hear, yes, chef. And when you hear, yes, chef, you know you are leading them to the finish line, whatever you want to call it, getting out of the weeds, knocking tickets out. And that's something that sometimes I go back and I look at and I think about, and I'm like, man, that's really, really cool. I had a chef mentor, Mark Hawley, and he would always remind me in the kitchen, he called me Patrice. And the reason why he called me Patrice and not Patti or Patricia was because at that time, he said I reminded him of a French chef. And he would say, Patrice, you got to remember, you are a leader of men. And I took that to heart. And I always wanted to make sure that I led the team to the victory, or led the team, at the end of the night, give each other high fives, have a beer in the parking lot, and just say, damn, we did it. We got out of it. We got out of the weeds. So I think that's one of the things that I probably do reflect on and go, that's pretty cool. I'm glad I was able to do that and still do it.
All right, we got time for one more here.
This is a question for each of you in your respective fields. Who in Houston, in your field, would you most like to collaborate with, especially to kind of grow in your own work, like as an executive chef or as a communicator, cultural advocate? Like, who in Houston really inspires you and you just really would like to work with them?
That's a hell of a question. I'm like going through my mental Rolodex right now. Just off the top. I'm a big UGK fan, and I got to meet Bun B at Southern Smoke, and I would love to collaborate with him. I think just what he's doing, how he's still instilling the culture into the food, that's something that I aspire to do, to make sure that I'm always keeping that front and center. Bun B is a vessel, but it's really about the culture, and making sure that it lives on and that it's told appropriately. One thing that I think is very important and that I would encourage everybody here is to tell their story. If you don't tell your story, two things will happen. Either your story won't get told, or somebody else will say it for you. And we know through history that many times those stories are not told the way they're supposed to be told, or they're told in a way that there's bias for it. And so I think it's very important that folks that are cultural leaders or have an opportunity to use their platform and speak for the culture, that they use it and they do it in an appropriate way. And I feel that he's doing that. And plus he's dope. I mean, just, it's like, I would love to just like what's up, just chill. Yeah, I'm fangirling. I really like Bun B. I really like UGK. Now, one of my favorite concerts was at Fitzgerald's, and they were playing, and I'm like going off on a tangent now, but I'm gonna do it. I was there, and they didn't play this one song, and I tweeted it. Right, this was back when Twitter was cool, and I tweeted it, and then they played the song. It was One Day. I mean, everybody knows, right? One Day. And so they played it, and then Bun B responded to me, and he said, "We did." That was my Twitter fame at that point. But it was dope, It was just like, that interaction, a very small interaction, but it made a difference for me. And he probably doesn't even know that, And I think that's the beauty of it, that sometimes we inspire folks and we don't even know it. And I would love to just like kind of express that to him.
Okay, is there another question?
Okay, no.
Okay, so muchas gracias. Es un honor, un placer para la universidad tenerlos aquí hoy. Y gracias por compartir su viaje, sus experiencias y su historia. Thank you so much. It's an honor for UHD to have you here today. Thank you for sharing your journey, your stories. And let's continue the storytelling and the cooking. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you for being here.
Another round of applause, folks. an amazing. I think it's just always amazing that every time we have a President's Lecture Series, I mean, it's just another great one. So again, thank you so much, Rodrigo. Chef Patti, thank you so much. What I will say, and we're gonna start seeing it more and more, and I know there's people in the room that know that we're doing a scholarship and emergency fund fundraiser in November, Gourmet Gators. And we're gonna be having it here on campus, showing off our campus, our wellness center, and we're bringing 10 of some amazing culinary partners here in the city of Houston, because we're so proud of all our food that we have here in Houston, and I'm very happy to say that Ninfa's is one of our partners, and we want to thank you again for being here. So keep your eyes, continue spreading the word, because the beneficiaries will be our students. So again, thank you so much to Ninfa's. But again, Patti, Rodrigo, what a pleasure to get to know you more through this conversation and to hear your stories. And we'll be back at Ninfa's pretty soon. So, and Dean, of course, thank you for always being so great.
Am I hired?
Yes, you're hired. So again, this concludes our President's Lecture Series for today. But again, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you at the next one. All right. Thank you so much.